Okay, so we're diving in to a pretty intense excerpt from a novel you sent us. Really appreciate that. This is going to be a deep dive into some messed up family dynamics, to say the least.
Yeah.
We've got Camille, Amma, and their mother, Adora.
Right.
And then a couple other characters that are kind of flitting in and out, Alan and Gayla.
Exactly.
But we really want to try to figure out what is the deal with these relationships, and especially like all this disturbing stuff going on under the surface.
Yeah, there are these weird details right away, like 3 pink bikes.
Oh, yeah.
But then you notice there's like adult things in the baskets, like lip gloss and a joint.
Okay.
And then it goes to Amma's room, and these girls are gathered around this dollhouse, but Amma's like tweaked and feverish. So what's that telling us right away about these girls and their environment?
It makes you so uncomfortable so quickly because it's this like saccharine sweet thing, but something's really wrong.
Yeah.
And Amma's voice is described as syrupy, which I thought was a really interesting choice.
Yeah.
Because it's like she's almost putting on this act of like a child.
Right.
Which really clashes with what we're led to believe she was just doing with her friends a couple of days before.
Right.
Something much more adult.
Definitely.
And Camille is kind of like watching all this happen around her, and she has no idea what the rules of the game are.
Right.
And then there's that line about Jodes.
Yeah, Jodes wasn't long for the group.
Right, which is like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a fickle and messed up group of little girls.
Yeah.
Camille just feels really annoyed and like she doesn't understand, and you really get that sense of how fractured all these relationships are.
Yeah, like the way the author takes these ordinary details, these pink bikes, the dollhouse, and twists them with those darker elements,
Right.
shows you how easily innocence can be corrupted.
Yeah.
And you have to start asking yourself, what's normal in this house? What are these girls being exposed to?
Then we go to Camille in the bath.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking for comfort in the warm water after we don't know exactly what,
Yeah.
but she feels raw and thoroughly used, which is such a disturbing way to describe herself. But then she says there's this strange sense of good afterwards.
Right. It's almost relief.
Yeah, and it's like this really unfiltered look into her state of mind at this point.
Yeah.
And then she has this impulse to carve the word alone into her skin.
Mm-hmm.
Like that visceral need for space, for emotional separation.
And then she sees that bare patch on her scalp.
Oh, yeah, from when her mom cut her hair.
Which is like a physical reminder of her mother's control, even when she's not there.
Exactly. It's like a symbol for everything that's going on in this family.
Yeah.
And then, boom, her mom appears right there, looming over the bathtub.
Talk about a lack of boundaries.
I know, and she's acting all frantic about Camille's whereabouts, but it feels so fake.
Like she's putting on a show.
Totally. And she immediately brings up Amma having a bad night.
Trying to deflect.
Yes, this weird power play. And Camille keeps asking about Amma, but her mom just keeps pushing back, demanding to know where Camille was.
Exactly. It's not about genuine concern.
It's all about control.
Right. And then there's that physical interaction where Adora tries to touch Camille's face.
Right. And she flinches.
Which tells you everything about their past.
Yeah, like how much she doesn't want to be touched by her mother.
And then that strange comment about ruining her skin.
Right. It feels so superficial considering she's supposed to be worried about Camille.
It's like her focus is always on appearances rather than actual emotions.
And then we had this whole thing with the bluish milk.
Oh, yeah.
Which is so creepy.
For sure.
Like, is this some weird act of poisoning?
Right.
Or is Camille imagining it?
Is it just nurturing gone wrong? Or something deliberate?
And her mom doesn't say anything. She just gives it to her and she's humming and doing this thing with her tongue. It's all so unsettling. And then as she leaves, she says this really disturbing thing about Camille never being a good girl.
Yeah. Maybe your spirit has gotten a bit more broken.
And in a good way.
Yeah.
A necessary way. So messed up.
It's like she's actively trying to break Camille down.
Yeah. And Camille waits in the bath for like an hour, watching herself.
Waiting for something to happen.
Right. For some physical reaction.
Yeah.
But nothing does. So she's left in this state of not knowing what's real and what's not. It's just this really unsettling and effective kind of manipulation.
Yeah, it keeps you off balance the whole time. It makes you question what's actually happening.
And then the tension continues when Amma's in Camille's bed.
Right.
And she immediately starts accusing Camille of being gross.
For being with the baby killer.
Yeah, which is obviously something she got from their mother.
It's like Adora's trying to pit them against each other.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Camille is just pleading with her, don't listen to Mama. Don't turn on me, Amma. We hurt each other awfully quickly in this family.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's so messed up.
It really shows that cycle of abuse.
Yeah, and then Amma just switches so fast, asking this inappropriate question about Camille's sexual encounter with that syrupy voice again, and then she's suddenly childlike again.
It's like she's putting on all these different masks, trying to figure out how to behave in this crazy environment.
And then she just leaves with this ominous warning. Just wait, everything's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And for Camille, things do get worse. She starts violently vomiting. It's described in this graphic detail.
Yeah. Wrenching, sweaty upheavals.
Right, and it goes on and on. Like you can almost feel her physical distress as you're reading it.
Yeah, it shows how deeply all this is affecting her.
Then there's this weird interaction with Alan sitting on the porch reading his book, Horses.
Right, with the green pudding.
Like everything's fine.
Completely detached.
He makes this comment about Camille doing better with her mother.
Yeah. And then there's that pause.
And he doesn't even say her name at first.
Like he's not really seeing her.
It's so strange.
It makes you wonder about his role in all of this. Is he just ignoring it all to cope? Or is he enabling Adora in some way?
And the drive to Woodbury is another ordeal for Camille. She has to keep stopping to throw up.
Oh.
And she even uses pop and vodka to clean the car.
What?
Yeah, it's like this surreal detail. And then she describes St. Joseph's Hospital as this huge cube of golden brick.
The waffle.
Right. And it's like this place for people who are trapped.
Trapped in the Missouri boot heel.
Exactly. Which kind of reflects how Camille feels about her whole life right now.
Totally stuck.
Yeah. And then she has to deal with this horrible receptionist at the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
So dismissive, totally absorbed in her paperwork. And Camille even remembers her mom saying something about how you have to present a certain face to the world.
Right.
Which is ironic considering how her mom manipulates everyone.
Totally.
But it's like this reminder that people judge you based on appearances and they don't see what's really going on. And she's being totally ignored until she finally just says, my sister is dead.
That's the only thing that gets her attention.
Exactly. And then it's this whole ordeal to get Marion's medical records.
4 hours.
Yeah, screaming, flirting, more vomiting.
Desperate.
Yeah. And what she finds is just years and years of these thick files full of medical tests.
Brain scans, heart scans, tests for everything.
Seemingly no actual diagnosis.
Right. It's like a pattern of seeking medical attention without any real illness.
Which is terrifying when you think about it.
Totally. It points to Munchausen by proxy.
Right. And then attached to one of the reports, she finds this pink sheet of paper.
Beverly Van Lum's note.
A nurse who took care of Marion.
Yeah, and in this note, she says she thinks Marion wasn't actually sick and that it was the mother causing these health problems.
It's like the first time someone else sees what Camille has been seeing all along.
Exactly. It validates all those suspicions.
And Beverly even says that Marion would get better when she was away from her mom.
And then worse after visits.
Oh, messed up. And she mentions that other nurses felt the same way but were afraid to say anything.
Which is so sad and frustrating.
Camille is just overwhelmed with this righteous indignation. Like someone saw what was happening, but they couldn't do enough to stop it.
Yeah, it's a huge revelation.
So she tracks down Beverly, who's still working at the hospital.
In the pediatric ward.
And Beverly is not at all what she expected. She's tiny with silver hair.
Yeah, she doesn't fit the image Camille had in her head.
But she recognizes Camille right away, and she's so regretful about what happened to Marion.
She says she daydreams about what Marion would be like if she had grown up.
So sad.
And then she talks about how disappointed she was that her note didn't do more. She was scared to accuse the mother directly. And then she drops this term, Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah, which Camille hasn't even heard of.
And she explains it's basically when a caregiver, usually the mother, makes their child sick for attention.
Like that Brothers Grimm fairy tale with the Wicked Queen.
Exactly.
And Beverly is kind of surprised that Camille seems okay.
Which could mean that Camille wasn't the target.
Yeah, or that she was too rebellious to manipulate in this specific way.
Possibly.
But then Camille mentions that there's another sister, Amma.
Right.
And Beverly gets really worried.
It's like she sees the pattern repeating itself.
And she warns Camille about not being the favorite in this kind of situation.
Right, because it's almost like the mother needs a target for her Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah, and she talks about how nobody took her report seriously.
Yeah.
They just dismissed her as being petty.
Or hysterical?
Right.
It's awful how often that happens to women.
It is. And Beverly says she started drinking after Marion died. It was just too much for her to handle.
It really shows the emotional toll these cases take on healthcare workers.
Yeah, and Camille is just overcome with tears and anger. Like, why didn't she understand this sooner?
It's a delayed realization, but a powerful one.
And then Beverly mentions this Detective Willis.
Who's been looking into Marion's files.
Yeah, and he specifically asked Beverly about Camille.
Interesting.
So it seems like something might finally be happening.
Yeah, maybe someone's actually taking this seriously.
Maybe.
There's a glimmer of hope there.
I guess we'll see. So Camille is just reeling from all of this.
Yeah.
And she feels like she has to get out of there. She's not safe.
Yeah.
So she ends up calling Curry from this biker bar.
Okay.
And Eileen answers and immediately knows something's wrong.
Right. She can hear it in her voice.
Yeah. Camille is sobbing uncontrollably. She can barely talk.
And Eileen's worried she's going to hurt herself.
Yeah. And then Curry gets on the phone and you can hear glass breaking.
He sounds really alarmed.
He's like, "What? Where are you?"
Yeah.
Camille just whispers, "My mother."
Wow.
And Curry's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
He doesn't believe it at first, but he tells her to come home right away.
But she refuses.
She says, "I'll never have a home.
Oh, wow.
I have to go take care of this Curry."
That's a powerful moment.
It is. It's like she's finally taking control.
She's not going to be a victim anymore.
So she goes to find Richard, and he's at Gritty's looking at news clippings about Natalie's attack. And Camille just unleashes on him.
Yeah, she accuses him of using her.
Yeah, to get to my mother.
And he doesn't deny it.
No, he just takes her outside to the car, and they drive to the overlook in silence. And then he finally admits that he was initially interested in Adora.
Yeah.
But he says he's actually fallen for Camille.
Which is hard to believe at this point.
I know, right?
But then he starts talking about the murders.
Yeah, he says James Capisi described the killer as a fairy tale wicked witch, which really stuck with him. And he realized that the killer is someone who needs ultimate control.
Whose nurturing instinct has gone awry.
Yeah, and who resents strong females and tries to dominate the girls.
And he connects the painted fingernails and the shaved legs.
The lipstick and the bite marks.
It all fits.
He says strangulation is the very definition of dominance.
Slow motion murder.
It's so chilling.
And he says he realized it was Adora after he made this profile.
Yeah, like he saw her face and suddenly everything clicked.
The nurturing and the violence.
Yeah, and he thinks they need to exhume Marion's body to get evidence of poisoning.
But Camille says no.
She says leave her be.
She doesn't want to disturb her sister's rest.
Yeah, and it's like this conflict between wanting justice and wanting to protect Marion.
And then Richard puts his hand on Camille's thigh.
Which is so inappropriate.
Yeah, he's totally crossing a line.
And he's like, "Don't worry about John. Vickery's barking up the wrong tree." And he's like, "I have proof. We just have to search the house for the kept teeth."
Oh, God.
And Camille immediately thinks, "I need to get Amma out of there."
She knows it's not safe.
And Richard's just like, "Act natural. We'll get your statement tomorrow."
So casual.
And Camille finally tells him, "She's been hurting me and Amma. Drugging us, poisoning us, something."
And Richard's like, why didn't you say anything?
And then he has the nerve to say, "You're overly sensitive."
So frustrating.
So she goes back to the house. And it's this bizarre scene. Gayla's there like a ghost.
Yeah.
And the rest of the family's just sitting there waiting for her.
Like actors before curtain.
Yeah. And Adora greets her all loud and fake. "Hello, darling. Nice day."
And then she's like, you'll be leaving us soon.
Because John's going to be arrested. It's
Yeah.
like, it's this threat.
It's so menacing.
And she's putting on this act of being this perfect hostess.
The ham is all gelatin wobbly.
Yeah.
Gross.
And Alan lets Adora carve the ham like she's in charge.
Like she always is.
And then she's all passive-aggressive about Camille not liking ham.
It's so uncomfortable.
And Emma's just fixated on John and how he's going to be executed.
She asks about the electric chair.
Yeah. And Adora says that lethal injection is like putting a cat to sleep.
So chilling.
And then Amma asks what fairy tale character Camille would be.
And Camille says Sleeping Beauty.
Which I guess makes sense.
But then Amma says she would be Persephone, the queen of the dead.
I know.
Which is so creepy.
Even Alan's like, "Oh, that's a little dark."
Yeah.
But Alma's like, well, she gets to be in both worlds.
The living and the dead.
Right.
Like she's comfortable with death.
Yeah. And then there's this whole thing about Amma wanting sugar on her ham and tomatoes and Adora controlling how much she can have.
Always about control.
Yeah. And then Amma asks Camille if she thinks John dying would be sadder than Camille dying.
Oh, God.
Like, what is wrong with this family?
It's disturbing.
And Camille's like, "I just wish nobody else would die in Wind Gap." But Amma insists that John has to die even if he's innocent.
She's so bloodthirsty.
It's weird. And the way she never calls Adora mom or anything, like there's this real distance between
lack of connection.
And then Adora says this thing about wishing they had all ended with Marion.
Yeah, and then she's suddenly all bright and cheery, but we keep moving on.
Like she's trying to convince herself.
It's really unsettling.
They clear the plates, and then dessert is blood orange sorbet.
Oh, wow. The
It's like
symbolism.
this really heavy-handed
For
foreshadowing.
sure.
And then Adora disappears into the pantry and comes back with these vials, and her
Nice.
eyes are all wet and pink.
Okay.
And she invites Camille to her bedroom.
The room Camille always wanted to be in.
Right.
Yeah.
This feels like it's going to be bad.
It's definitely not going to be a cozy mother-daughter moment.
So they go into this lavish bedroom with the huge bed and the mirror and the ivory floor.
Yeah, and Adore's tossing pillows and pulling back covers.
She's putting on a show.
Definitely.
She gives Camille this drink that smells like brown apples, but Camille doesn't drink it.
Smart.
And then Adora starts talking about how she was abandoned by her mother when she was a kid.
In the North Woods.
Yeah, and she says her mother was just completely indifferent.
Felt like she didn't care at all.
And she talks about how she was sick and her grandmother wouldn't even look at her.
That's awful.
Yeah, and then she tries to justify her actions by saying, when a child knows that young that her mother doesn't care for her, bad things happen.
It's like she's trying to blame her own mother for what she's doing.
Right, but Camille's not having it. She says, believe me, I know what that feels like.
Powerful.
And then Adora just comes out and says it. I wanted to love you, Camille, but you were so hard, Marianne. She was so easy,
Oh, wow.
like a punch to the gut.
It's brutal.
Yeah, Camille finally snaps.
She says, enough, Mama.
And Adora's like, let me take care of you, Camille. Just once, need me.
Yeah, it's so manipulative.
And Camille's like, no, you don't get to do that. I needed you for real, Mama, not because you made me need you.
Oh, my God.
And she says she was a baby.
Talking about Marion?
Yeah. And Adora just says, she'll always be my baby.
It's chilling.
It really is.
So what have we learned from all of this?
Well, we've got this really disturbing picture of this family.
We've got Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah, and Adora might be involved in Marion's death, and who knows what else.
The relationships are all so messed up.
Yeah, especially Camille and her mother.
There are so many twists and turns.
There's a lot to unpack.
For sure.
So for you, as you listen to this, I want you to think about how insidious manipulation can be.
Yeah, and how long-lasting the effects of childhood trauma are.
And what does it mean to search for truth when you're dealing with abuse and deception?
This excerpt really makes you think about what it means to need someone and what happens when that need gets twisted into something harmful.
It's something to really reflect on.
And we encourage you to think about the complexities of family relationships and what it takes to seek justice and healing after abuse.
This is a really rich excerpt with a lot to unpack.
Definitely.
So keep exploring these themes and maybe go back and look at the source material again with these new insights in mind.